This lesson, we're going to start the advanced trigonometry set of lessons. And first of all, we're going to look at the area of a non-right angle triangle. So the naughty words for today is to be able to calculate the area of a non-right angle triangle. And the Maths Watch clip is GCSE 215. Let's jump into it. So I want to calculate the area of this triangle to one decimal place. Okay, so we should all remember the area of a triangle by now. So area of a triangle is the half times the base times the height. And this is the formula for any triangle, okay? So as long as you know the length of the base and the length of the vertical height, you can work out the area of any triangle, okay? So which of these numbers do we know to plug into our formula? Well, we've got a half. We can take a half as a half. The base, well, let's take this as the base of our triangle. We've got 10 centimeters, so a half times 10. But what's the height of our triangle? Do we know the vertical height of our triangle? Well, not quite yet, because we've got one slanted side, but we don't know the length of this side, but we don't know the vertical height. But if we were to draw a line from the highest point of the triangle, so it joins the base perpendicularly, we can then create a right angle triangle. Okay. Now we can use trigonometry to figure out what is the length of this missing side, which is the true height of our triangle. Okay. So remember trigonometry, we use SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. So we need to figure out what, compared to the relative to the angle, what sides do we know or don't know, or what are we trying to find? So if this is our angle here, we're trying to find this side, and that is opposite to the angle. So we're going to call this opposite. And this angle of the right angle triangle, this 8 centimeter side is the longest side. This is our hypotenuse. So this is our hypotenuse, okay? So which of these functions, SOHCAHTOA, uses the opposite and hypotenuse? Well, it's SO, which is sine. So sine of an angle, is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so we're going to substitute the numbers in. So we know the angle's 40, so sine 40 equals opposite. We don't know the opposite, but this is our height. Okay, so I'm just going to write the word height in there. Over, and our hypotenuse is 8 centimeters. So we're just going to write 8 in there. Okay, so sine 40 equals height over 8. Well, we can't do much with height being over 8, so we're going to rearrange this. Multiply both sides by 8. So 8 times sine 40 equals our height. Perfect. That's what we want. If you type that into a calculator, 8 times sine 40, that gives you 5.14. And that's rounded to 2 centimeters, okay? Two decimal points, sorry. So to go back to our original area of a triangle, half times 10, we now know our height is 5.14 times 5.14 equals, and if you typed all that in a calculator, you would get 25.7 centimeters squared. Okay, so this is the area of our triangle. Okay, let's have a look at another example. So we're going to calculate the area of this triangle to one decimal place again. So remember, the area of a triangle equals a half times base times height. Okay, and like before, we know a half is a half. We look at this one. I can see the base is 11 centimeters. 22 centimeters, just 11. And we don't know what the height is again. But if we draw a point from the highest point of the triangle down perpendicularly to the base, we can create a right angle triangle. So now we can use trigonometry again to find the missing height of this triangle, okay? So again, we're looking at SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA. Now we've got this angle here. The side we're trying to find is opposite our angle, so that's the opposite. And the longer side of the right angle triangle is our hypotenuse, which is our 7. So that's the hypotenuse. So which function do we use when we know the opposite, or we're trying to find the opposite and or the hypotenuse? Well, again, it's so sine function, okay? So sine of an angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, we know the angles, so substitute the numbers in now. We know the size of the angle is 57, so sine 57. Opposite, well, remember that was our height, so let's write in height again. Over, and our hypotenuse was 7, okay? Now we can't do much when height is divided by 7, so we're going to rearrange this. We're going to multiply both sides by 7. So we get 7 times sine 57 equals our height. And if you type that into a calculator to 2 decimal places, you would get 5.87 centimeters, okay? So now let's put this back in our original equation. So equals 5.87, so our height 5.87. And if you type that into a calculator and you press equals, you would get 32.3 centimeters squared. Okay, so that is how you find the area of a triangle that isn't a right angle triangle. Okay, so you have to make a right angle within the triangle, use SOHCAHTOA, use some trigonometry to find out the height, and then you substitute that height into our original area of a triangle formula. Okay, so here's the main task coming up. So pause the video and have a go at solving these questions. Okay, remember, I want the answer to 1 decimal place. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at these. Okay, so here are the answers. Very well done if you got them all right. Now, there was a lot of writing there going on for those formulas. Do we think there's an easier way? Well, actually, there is an easier way, okay? And we're going to go through that now. So, first things first, what you should have noticed about all these triangles in the task is we've known 2 sides, and between the 2 sides has been the angle, okay? So, if we were to label this triangle slightly differently, we're going to use A, B's, and C's, okay? So I'm going to label the base of the triangle A. I'm going to label this other known side as B. And I'm going to label this unknown side as C. These are all lowercase letters, okay? Now, for the angles, for the angle opposite a side, I'm going to give it a capital version of that letter. So this angle is opposite C. I'm going to call him capital C. This top angle is opposite A, capital A. And this angle is opposite side B. So that's angle B. Okay, we're going to come back to that later. So again, if we were trying to answer this question, calculate the area of a triangle, we would do the area of any triangle. Area of triangle is a half times base times height. Okay, so we're always trying to find the base and then the height. Okay, well, we've always known what a half is, and we've always known what the base is. It's always been this number, okay, or the letter A. Okay, just remember that. So the base in this case was 12 centimeters. But we've never known the height. We've always had to do a bit of maths, a bit of trigonometry to find out the height, okay? But what you should have noticed every single time, if you look back at your workings out, every single time you've done this, we always used sine. Always use sine, okay? So we always did sine of this angle. So sine 44 in this case, sine 44 is equal to, and it would be if we were to draw the right angle in here again, the opposite would always be the height, which was unknown. So equals height over, and then the hypotenuse of the angle of the triangle would always be this other side here, B. Okay, so it would always be 9. We always had to rearrange this. So instead of height divided by 9, we multiplied both sides by 9. So we had 9 times sine 44. And this equaled our height. Okay? So now, if we think about substituting this, so at this point, we always pressed equal on our calculators. We found out what 9 times sine 44 was. We pressed equals, and then we had to carry our answer up over here, and then we had to redo the question again, okay? Retype out the numbers. But how about, rather than pressing equals in the calculator, how about we substitute in 9 times sine 44 instead of height in the formula? So we've got half times 12 times, so 9 times sine 44, so 9 times sine 44. Okay, well, let me get rid of that centimeters. So if we look at this now, and if we look how we've labeled the triangle Okay. Let's have a think about the letters we've used to label this. So we've got a half, well, that's a half, times, well, 12, so that was side A. The 9 was this side B, and sine was always this size angle here, and it was capital C. So sine capital C. Okay. Now what we've done here is we've actually found the formula for non-right angle triangles. Okay. So area of a non-right angle triangle equals half AB sine C. Okay. And this is, so half AB sine C, it has to be an angle between two sides. Okay, so it won't work if the angle's only next to one side. It has to be an angle between two known sides. Okay, so this is a key point. Okay, but a half AB sine C. So an easy way to think about it, just think about ABC. So it's half AB sine C. Okay. So if we were to substitute the values from the triangle into this formula, we would have a half as a half. A was 12, so it's one side, so half times 12, times B was the other known side, so 9, times sine of the known angle, okay? So sine 44. And if you type that into a calculator, you would get 37.51 centimeters squared, and that's to 2 decimal places, okay? So without having to do any trigonometry or any drawing lines or imagining right angle triangles, we can just use this formula, okay? Half AB sine C, okay? But remember, just key thing to remember, it has to be an angle between two known sides, okay? So just to prove this to you, let's have a look at the first two examples we did. So here's the answers we got to one decimal place, okay? And we're just use our calculators now. So the formula, so area was a half. We're going to use AB sine C, okay? If we were to label this triangle up, that would be A, that would be B, and that would be capital C. So it'd be a half times 10 times 8 times sine 40. And if you pressed go on the calculator, you would have got 25.7115 centimeters squared. That's to 4 decimal places. But if you rounded that to 1 decimal place, you would get 25.7 to 1 decimal place, okay? What about this one over here? So example 2, we had another triangle here. We figured out the area was 32.3 centimeters cubed, but let's use our new fancy formula. So area equals half AB sine C. So a half stays as a half. A, let's relabel this triangle. So we call this A, call that B, and this is angle C. So A is 11, so half times 11 times 7 times sine 57. If you typed all that into your calculator, you would get 32.2888 to 4 decimal places. And if you rounded that to 1 decimal place, you would have got 32.3 centimeters squared. And hey, check that out. That's the same as our answer from doing it the long way, okay? So we're going to use this nice and simple formula to solve some areas of non-right angle triangles, okay? So have a go at these questions with your newly discovered formula, okay? So pause the video and give these a go. Okay, so here are the answers. So I did want these to 2 decimal places, okay? So just make sure wherever your answer was, you rounded them up to 2 decimal places, okay? Now, I've got 2 challenge questions for you guys, all right? So here they come. So pause the video, have a go at these questions. The first one, you need to find side X, and the second one, you need to find angle Y. Okay, so pause the video and give these a go. Okay, so Hopefully you gave them a good go. So both of these questions are just rearranging the formula of questions, okay? So first of all, let's remember our formula for the day. So area equals half AB sine C, okay? So this is our main formula we're going to be substituting, okay? So for the first question on the left here, we're looking to find missing side x, okay? So if I was to label these sides, so I'll call this side A, I'll call this side B, and I'll call this angle C, okay? So if we were to fill out our angle, substituting those values in, so we've got a half is a half. A was 20 in this case, so half times 20 times, well, we didn't know what B was, we'll call that x, and then it was times sine 28, okay? So, and the area we're told is 70.42 meters squared, okay? 70.42, okay? So how can we rearrange this so that we're left with x on one side? Well, we could divide, so if we're looking to get x on its own, we need to get rid of the half, the 20, and the sine 28. And if we're multiplying this side by a half, 20, and sine 28, the opposite of that would be to divide by all those things. So we're going to divide by a half times 20 times sine 28, okay? So that leaves us with x on this side, and on the other side, we've got 70.42 over a half times 20 times sine 28. And if you plug down your calculator and you pressed equals, you should have got 14.9998 centimeters cubed. Oops, sorry, just centimeters, sorry. And we could just take that to 15 centimeters to one decimal place, sorry, 15.0, okay? And then for the second one now, we're looking to find this missing angle, okay? So let's just block this off. So again, we've got the formula area equals half AB sine C. So if we're to and then we know the area is 15, so we could just substitute everything in. So we've got area equals half times, so we'll call this side A and that's side B. So A is 12, B is 5, times sine. Now we don't know what the angle is, so sine of y, okay? And this was equal to 15, okay? So that area was 15, okay? So we're looking to find sine of y, okay? So we can get rid of this area. So first things first, we want to get sine y on its own, okay? And the way we can do that is we can rearrange this. So if it's half times 12 times 5, we're looking to get rid of all that. The opposite by timesing by all of those would be to divide by all of those. So we're going to divide by a half times 12 times 5. Do that to both sides. That leaves us with sine of y equals 15 over half times 12 times 5. And if you pressed equals, so then sine y equals, and if you pressed equals on your calculator, then you should have got sine of y equals 0.5. Now the inverse function of sine, remember if we want to do the opposite of sine it would be sine minus 1, okay? So that leaves us with y equals sine minus 1, 0.5. And if you type down your calculator, you should find that y is equal to 30, and it would be in degrees, okay? So there's your final answer for that one, okay? So well done if you were able to rearrange those successfully, okay? Okay, so final checking question of the lesson now. So without looking at the formula, see if you can figure out the area of this triangle, okay? So pause the video, try not to look at the formula back in your notes, and try and answer this question, okay? Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so hopefully you remembered that the area of a non-right angle triangle was half AB sine C, okay? And that's when there's a known angle between two known sides, okay? So let's label these up. I'm going to call this side A, that side B, and this angle C, okay? So if I were to substitute those values into this formula, I'd have a half times 3.4 times 2.7 times sine of 123. If I pressed equal on my calculators, I would get a value of 3.849 centimeters squared, and that's to 3 decimal places. Okay, you could have rounded up to something different. Okay, so well done if you got that. Good work today, and we'll see you next lesson. Bye now.